I'm here with Veronica Parker, and she helps women who are searching for easy ways to live authentically and happy on purpose. That's something where we could all say, hey, I think that's me. So I think Veronica is going to speak to a lot of us today. She does this in a couple different ways. First of all, she's a wellness leader, and you're going to see why, because she's just dynamic as all get out. She's also a certified Kundalini Yoga teacher, which she'll tell you about, and a meditation expert. So, Veronica's going to talk to us about how we can activate creativity and live happily in the present without us just waiting for that perfect moment. Waiting until next Monday, waiting until we lose weight, waiting until, we win the lottery. All that waiting for the perfect moment doesn't really it doesn't really serve a purpose. So Veronica is going to help us find that creativity and really hook onto it to live our best lives. So I want to start out first with hopefully you can tell people a little bit more about Kundalini because it's so different from probably what they've experienced in their average Hatha yoga class. And at least from my experience, it is an out of this world, kind of strange, incredibly amazing experience to practice Kundalini yoga. So let's start with that. Why don't you tell them a little bit about that practice?
Sure, I would love to, Kelly. So, Kundalini Yoga is the yoga of awareness and experience. It was brought to the US in the early 70s by a yoga master, and his name was Yogi Bhajan. And one of the things that I love about Kundalini Yoga is that they call it the yoga of the householder. What that means is that you don't have to change like who you are or your lifestyle in order to practice it. You can really still, if you're a mom, you can still have kids and take care of your kids. If you work, you can go to work and do your thing. You don't have to just escape reality and go to the top of the Himalayas.
Yeah.
And so that you can find who you really are inside,
Right.
So it really fits into whatever lifestyle you already have, and what I totally love about it is that it just helps you feel so much more connected to the real you, the true you. It really helps you shed all of the layers that get in the way, all of the different belief systems, all of the different thought patterns that we might have had ever since we were 5. And in a typical Kundalini yoga class, we start with a mantra that allows us to connect to something greater than ourselves. And then we move on to breathing exercises that help us just kind of chill out and let go of whatever happened during the day. And then we do a different set of asanas, and they're typically linked together in something that's called a kriya. And so there's so many different kriyas in Kundalini Yoga. You have a kriya that let's say you're perfecting your nervous system. You have another kriya that's helping you release stress. You have another kriya that's working on the different hemispheres in the brain. You have so many different kriyas, so you will never be bored in a Kundalini Yoga class.
No, you will not.
You have so much newness every time you show up, And then we finish with a nice meditation, and there's also so many different meditations in Kundalini Yoga as well.
What I think's neat about Kundalini is I did it for the first time at a retreat almost a year ago now. I had no idea what I was getting myself into because I've done just about every other type of yoga except that. But after you've done the movement, which is it's more vigorous than your average yoga class. After you've done this movement and you've just gotten yourself into this real headspace that you're not normally in, the meditation afterwards is like nothing I've experienced. It's almost where your body's just prepared for it by the time you are down for, just your shavasana, which is like you're taking a sensory journey instead of just your average, laying there exhausted. And it's something that I think is so interesting. And is there a way that we can kind of replicate that without being in a Kundalini class to get into that sort of mindset for just that really creative open meditation?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways. I think moving your body a little bit,
Hmm.
even if you're not like fully going to a class,
Yeah.
even if you just go for a walk or get on the treadmill or doing something that just gets those, endorphins
Yeah.
flowing, and you get your body out of like its place of stuckness or craziness,
Yeah.
that you might have had during the day. I think that's usually very helpful. But
Yeah.
even if you don't move your body, I really believe that when you just sit down to do your meditation, and by the way, as you probably noticed in your class, Kelly, a lot of the meditations of Kundalini Yoga are very active meditations.
Yes.
So you actually have something that you're doing with your hands in different
Yes.
mudra patterns. You have a different eye gaze in the different meditations. So
Yes.
you're engaging like your eyes and you're activating your pituitary gland, and really the breath. There's so many different ways to breathe, and just the breath
Yeah.
can bring you into that space of, okay, I'm here, I'm present.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready for what is showing up.
It's
You know.
almost trance-like too, because you get that the movement, how you're holding the mudras, like how you're holding your hands and all that. And we even did one in a circle where we were doing a chant's a little strong. It was more like we were singing a brief song over and over. And people go to the center of the circle and you could just feel energy. Now, this was a very different experience for me. This was not
Mhm.
my world. And
Mhm.
I couldn't believe you went to the center of the circle and you just felt this energy. Like it felt interesting when you got in there. Like you felt like there were people there who were wishing for the best for you. It was very transformational. I think anybody, if you can try a Kundalini class, be prepared for the unexpected. But go and just see how different it is because it's very different than our typical yoga class or even just like workout, period.
Yeah,
That's very
absolutely.
neat.
It's definitely different, and it can be intense, but it is so rewarding.
Yes.
It's like you show up and you just get to do what is shown to you, and it can totally change you in a great way.
Yeah. How do you bring that sort of mindset into your daily life, like outside of your practice? How do you keep sort of that openness and that just not only open, but sort of connectedness outside of yoga?
I love that. That's such a great question. For me, it is to actually have like a spiritual practice that I do
Mm-hmm.
every morning, because I feel that
Oh.
as long as I wake up and I do that first thing in the
Mm-hmm.
morning, it begins to align like that day into that path where, you might have a little bit of challenges here and
Yeah.
there, but overall it's like your body, you're creating that habit with your mind and your
Yes.
body. So when you show up and, an obstacle, a challenge, something that you weren't expected is like
Yeah.
coming on board, you're like, oh, okay, I can go back to that breath I did this
Mm-hmm.
morning, or I can go back to like the little, like, just raising the arms and touching my toes or
Yeah.
my knees. But I think breath, for me, breath is key. Breath,
Mm-hmm.
throughout my day, because
Right.
you'll notice, like, whenever we are stressed, whenever we feel fear, whenever we are like running around, like a chicken
Mm-hmm.
without a head, doing like
Yeah.
so many things,
Frequently.
the first thing that goes is like the conscious breathing, because
Yes.
we like kind of like we contract, and that contracting, just makes us like not really have that expanse of like, okay, I am breathing. So
Yeah.
for me, it's like consciously going back to my breath, even if it's just for like 2 seconds,
Right.
just going back and being like, okay, deep breath in. That's like
Yeah.
really deep, and then exhale, and be conscious of my mind. It's
Yes.
like, okay, now I'm inhaling, and now I'm exhaling. And it sounds so simple. It's like, really? But
But it
it can make
helps.
a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like your really how you have that ritual that you do in the morning where you start the day the same way. You have that you can come back to and rely on. But also being able to pull yourself back into that space throughout the day with your breathing and with your just, being very focused because we tend to hold our breath. And like you said, constrict. We get lots of that chest breathing and it starts to feel a little scary and you don't know what to do. And breathing just that in and out, that a nice breath with lots of sound like Veronica did, really strong in and then out. Feel free to make noise. So if you need even more real connection to I am breathing.
Yeah, so true. Absolutely. It's so
Yeah.
powerful, and I feel like so many times, we take it for granted, because it's like, well, of course I'm breathing because I'm alive. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be alive if I
Right.
wasn't breathing. but to really like capture like the power of our breath, that is already so creative, and it's already so present, because if you're consciously breathing, you're present. There's no two ways about it. So it's really pretty neat.
Yeah, you had mentioned creativity, which is exactly what I wanted to talk to you about today. You are one of the most creative people I know. Veronica is, she probably won't admit it right here, but she's an artist. She exudes color and beauty and just energy that you want to grab onto with that creativity. And I'd love to know how would you describe your creativity? Since it, to me at least as your friend, it seems to be such a major part of your life.
It definitely is. But let me just say, I'm going to tell you something. Just so you know, I don't think of myself as an artist.
Really?
And I think most people that are probably watching are not thinking of themselves as an artist. I do think of myself as being creative, but I didn't always think of myself as being creative. But what I've learned, through this juicy journey we call life, that we are all creative. That creativity is inherent within us. If you are alive and you're breathing, you're also creative. And
I love that, because me, some people don't think they are.
No, most people don't think they are. Like that little phrase that people say, it's like, oh, we're just creatures of habit. So many times you hear we're creatures of habit.
Yeah.
I just say, you know what? I'm going to just change that. We're not creatures of habits. We are creatures of creation, because this energy that you can call universe, goddess, God, mother, father, whatever you want to call it, it's this like incredible vibration that it's not only outside of us, but it's also inside of us. It is totally creative. And so if you are breathing, if you are here right now, you are creative too. And, you, Kelly, and anyone listening right now, we are all creative. It's just like what happens most of the time is like we're not consciously aware that we are creative.
Right.
Or we allow that little, inner critic, that little voice to get in the way and be like, who do you think you are? You're not an artist. You're not creative. Who do you think you are? So to really, it was like a really long-winded answer to the question that but for me, to remind myself that I am creative, I do a couple of things. So one is, if it's colorful and sparkles, it's mine. So I like to...
Yes, that's the first thing you'll learn about her.
I like to wear, like something that's colorful and sparkle. I even have like this little like eyeliner that's like sparkly little thing that you put on top of your eyes.
I love that.
My daughter kind of laughs and she's like, oh, Mom, that's so you. Like, I wouldn't wear it, but on you it looks awesome.
It's so you.
So I like to, because then I outwardly remember that, okay, I'm wearing this like sparkly or colorful thing. That means that I'm being creative, and there's so many different ways that you can also be creative, whether it be how you do your hair, your makeup, or the clothes that you wear, or how you organize your wardrobe, your closet. Whatever meal you like to play, there's so many ways that we can be creative. It's just like most of the time we're not realizing it, Right. Or we're realizing it, but we, like I said before, we let that inner critic, get in the way. Sometimes it gets in the way right before we even start a creation, and other times it gets in the way halfway through or a little bit later, and then it stops us from like really birthing that creation into reality.
Absolutely.
So I actually have a couple of tips if you want to hear.
Yes, I'd love to.
I'm going to share with you like this powerful breath from Kundalini Yoga that you can actually like apply, because it's a breathing exercise with a particular mudra. You're basically bringing your hands up on either side of you, and you're sticking the thumbs up to the sky. Let me move back so you can actually see my hands. Okay. So you're kind of looking like that. Okay. This is what it looks like, and all the way up to the sky. The rest of the fingers are like plugged in. Okay. They're like punching into the palm. It goes like that. And then what we're going to do is inhale and exhale out of the nose equally. So it looks something like this before we raise our arms. It looks like this. And as you're inhaling, you're kind of pumping the belly in and out. So you're using this thing that's called breath of fire. Mm-hmm. And when you actually bring the arms up, it's called ego eradicator. So the breath of fire looks like this. And you might want to blow your nose or have a tissue around it.
I'm glad I blew my nose before this.
You might splash it everywhere. But anyway, so then you raise the arms out and you do the same thing. But now you're going to do it with your arms up and with your eyes closed. So your eyes are closed, and then your gaze is upward and inward towards the middle of your forehead. Okay. And then let's start together. Inhale and exhaling equally in and out of the nose like this. You're doing great. Keep on inhaling and exhaling. Right? You got it.
You can't help but have your stomach go in and out. That's really cool.
Right? How did you like it?
I like it. Ooh, it's sniffly up in here. But I love breath of fire. I love that. I've never done it with arms or a mudra. I love it. It's instantly energizing. I'm sure you all are just like, whoa, now I'm awake. Because it's incredibly energizing. And even that, you could just go do that in a bathroom stall. If you're like, wake up before a meeting, or you're just feeling low energy. I mean, even just those few seconds, whew, I already feel better.
Right. So here's the other thing. Misconception is that, I'm not going to meditate. I'm not going to do this because I need a lot of time. This was like not even a minute, you know, and you can already feel the difference, Absolutely. And your breath you can take with you. You can practice anywhere. If you're feeling weird, that's how I might see you. Yeah, do it in a bathroom stall. Do it in your car before you get out for a meeting. Yeah. But just do it, just allow it to begin to shift, the chemicals in your body, like the way that your mind is feeling. And when we're actually doing it with the arms up, that's called ego eradicator, because what it's doing is removing the ego out of the way. And the ego is that little part, that like is the critic inside. Yeah. And so we are wanting to create, it's so good to, okay, let's get the critic out of the way. Let's get the ego out of the way so we can be in that flow, that creative flow. That is our true nature anyway.
Well, and that creative flow, like you said, it's not just if you are going to go paint something or you're going to do something artsy. Being creative, like you'd said, is every moment of every day for us. And doing that little thing just to connect to really who you actually are, your authentic creative self. I don't think that's much to ask. I think I can do that.
Yeah, that's totally. Really cool. We can all do it.
What are some of your other tips? I see, we can all be a little more like Veronica. That's my goal each day, to be a little more like you, a little sparklier like you. So what else can we do?
Well, let me just say one little thing about the breath of fire. Just if you are pregnant, you don't want to do breath of fire. You would just do inhaling and exhaling out of the nose. Okay. And also, if you are within the first 3 days of your menstrual cycle, you don't want to do that either, because it's like too energizing and too activating in a place where you need to be a little more calm. So again, you would just do inhaling and exhaling out of the nose.
Okay, so it's just slower for them.
Yeah, it's just slower. You're not pumping the belly, and you're just inhaling and exhaling. But other than that, you can do it any other time. Cool. And let me tell you, like when you do that, it's like a cup of coffee for me. I don't drink coffee. I only drink tea. But if I'm feeling like kind of sluggish, if I'm feeling like, I want to press the snooze button, or I want to like, do 100 other things, and I have a list that's so long of all my to-dos, like ego eradicator, breath of fire, you can never go wrong with that for sure.
It's amazing. I feel like I just had a cup of coffee, and I am the queen of caffeine. So that's really saying a lot.
That's awesome. That's so good. Yeah, so getting back to your other question, I think the other element that's so important when we are talking about being creative and being in flow is to be able to trust yourself, is to be able to eliminate just that self-doubt. That is part of that little ego self that comes forth, that might be whispering like, nothingness in your ear. We have to be stronger than that. We have to activate that aspect of ourselves that is the confident, that is the sparkly one, that is the one that knows how to get the stuff done, and just know that that's who you are. But sometimes the only way that you're going to know it is if you actually take inspire action in the direction of that dream or that creation that you're doing. Does that make sense?
It does, because it gives you a little bit of proof for yourself that you can do this, even if it's that tiny step. The fact that you could take a tiny step, like do breath of fire for 10 seconds. You did it. Boom. You can do this again.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How do you really zero in on that trust to start to get rid of that critic? Because for a lot of us, even though, we've accomplished amazing things, there's still that critic that says it's not, or maybe it's just me, who keeps saying it's not enough, or that was awesome, but
Right,
how do
right.
we get
Let me tell you
into
that it's not just you. I
good,
have it.
good, okay, good.
I almost didn't start my podcast because I was kind of like listening to that little
And
thing
that would have
before.
been a shame.
Yes. So I think every one of us has it to like different degrees,
Yeah.
But for me, one of the ways that I love to overcome that, and move into a state of faith and trust is by calling on the energy of the angels. So for
Tell me more
me,
about that.
so a long time ago, I started connecting with angels and really like studying and learning about them. At first I felt a little bit weird because I grew up under the Jewish religion and my parents had never talked to me about angels. And I thought that angels were like religious figures. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure. But as I learned about them, I realized that they're non-denominational.
Really?
They're simply being, and they're always around us. You have angels around you all the time. I have angels. Everybody has angels. And the thing is, because we are humans and we have free will, they're not going to come and help us unless we're like actually asking for help. And you can ask angels to help you with anything. So I like to ask angels to help me trust myself when I'm feeling a little doubtful. I like them to help me balance my life when I have too many things that I'm juggling, all at once. I like them to help me with the creations, with all the aspects of it, especially the ones that feel like they're out of my control. For me, connecting and trusting angels gives me more like connection and trust with myself.
So if it's not, now forgive me, I'm Southern Baptist and we are very literal when it comes to the Bible. Can you tell me a little bit more about, so what are angels? Since this is a reframe of what I grew up with. This is so fascinating. I've got to hear more about this.
So angels, if you go into Google and you Google angels, you're gonna have like a million different entries, of what they are and what they look like. They're usually depicted as like human figures, right? With like big wings. But they're really just like vibrational beings. And every different angel has a different vibration or like a job or a purpose. You have like, let's see, like the superhero of angels are those that have been called archangels in all the Bibles and all the religious sects. And so you have like, let's say Archangel Michael. Archangel Michael is like the savior and the protector. He's usually depicted as one that has ginormous wings. He has a big sword and a big shield. So just calling on that name, Michael, can immediately help you let go of fear and feel safe.
That's so interesting.
So you can literally just say, hey, Michael, like help me like let go of blah 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 fear, or help me feel safe. Or if you're like, let's say going to a store kind of like late at night and it's dark and you go into your car and you're feeling like a little weird, you just call upon the energy of Michael, and then that energy, that vibration like just shows up to help you and help you feel safe and like really protected. For I have like a little story because I have kids, so my oldest, when he was little, he was co-sleeping with us. And so he would sleep in our bed and, he would wake up so many times at night to go to the bathroom, but he was afraid. So in the beginning, he would be like, Mommy, come with me. So I would like, get up, go to the bathroom, get up, go to the bathroom. And then finally I kind of had it because then I couldn't get it done today.
Yeah, they'll do that.
So one time I was like, I said, John Jay, listen, there's this things that I call angels. All you have to do is just say, Angel Michael, come to the bathroom with me. Michael will go to the bathroom with you, and you're going to feel like safe and protected, and then Mommy doesn't have to get up with you. So he's like, okay, Mommy. Aww. So he goes to sleep. I kind of forget about it. A couple of weeks later, I see like the light in the bathroom is on, and I kind of hear him talking to someone. So I wait until he gets back in bed, and I'm like, John Jay, who are you talking to? Like, oh, Angel Michael. I was talking to him because he was keeping me safe and I wasn't afraid.
Oh, that's so cute.
So anyway, that's just like a little sample, Angel Michael. But you have so many other, we could literally talk for a whole week about angels, but
Yeah.
the most important thing to remember is that they're by your side and they're waiting for you to ask for help. So you
Hmm.
can ask them to help you with anything, and your
Right.
life will change like incredibly.
Well, I could see how you could certainly find more confidence and trust in yourself if if you feel like something bigger than you is guiding you. I mean, that's an incredible feeling. That thank you for telling us about angels. That's I don't know if anyone else was unaware like me, but that's I think that's a really cool just it it's a nice comfort to know that you can call upon someone else to well, something I guess, but have that outside help and that push. And I'm sure that helps with your creativity too, because you can pull divine inspiration also.
Yeah, exactly, because they're direct messengers
Hmm.
from divinity, so you
Yeah.
get like the little whispers, and then the whispers get a little louder, and then you're feeling like pushed in all the direction, and then they actually start bringing, like I think angels brought you and I together, through the
Yeah.
group that we belong to, so they kind of bring you like support in different ways, so you don't have to
Yeah.
feel alone, you don't have to feel like you're like the only one that's like bearing everything on your shoulders, you
Yeah.
know?
That's really neat. So, sorry to take you off on an angel tangent.
Yeah,
It's like, okay, stop, gotta know. Um, so you've got these tools to essentially bring that focus back into yourself. You have breath of fire, just as an example of something you can do, a
Mhm,
way to reconnect. You have that ability to trust yourself or ask for a little help to trust yourself too. What else
mhm.
can you do to start really bringing that confidence and energy and that creative essence into yourself? Like, how else can we remember that we're creative beings? We're not, that's not just the lucky few who go to art school.
Yeah, that's a great question. There's two other ways that I totally love exploring myself, and you might enjoy doing that too. You and anyone else watching, of course. So one of them is just going out in nature. Anytime
Oh,
that you
yeah.
have even just 5 minutes to walk amongst trees, or look at
Yeah.
flowers, or look at the leaves on the ground that are falling from the trees, or just like lay on the sand on the beach. It's such a great
Sounds
reminder
so good.
that that you are part of this creation, that just like, the trees have their leaves and the sand and the
Yeah.
water, and everything around you is part of this creation and is creative, and
Yeah.
and for me it's just like such a good reminder.
Well, that beauty that's all around us is when I'm especially stressed, I like to get outside of my office, whether it's my home office here or it's my office. I like to get outside, at least get some fresh air. Because you're right, that really, it reconnects you because you see that you're a part of something just glorious around you.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Love
There's
it.
no better reminder than nature, In fact, one of the things, and in addition to hugging trees, because I am definitely a tree hugger, one of the things that I love to do when you're feeling like your mind is just like totally like, oh my God, I just can't handle
Yes.
one more detail. I feel so overwhelmed. I have so much
Yes.
going on. Just go outside, anywhere you can find a tree, and literally lean against the tree with your back against the
Mm-hmm.
tree. Like place your head and your back and your whole spine against
Mm-hmm.
the tree, and just take 3 minutes inhaling and exhaling, and just letting the tree kind of like absorb all of the stuff that's like no longer needed by you.
Yeah.
And don't feel like you're gonna hurt the tree. Don't feel like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm doing all this like negative energy. They don't care. They're
Yeah.
also like living beings that want to help us.
Right.
But just give it a try. Even if you don't have 3 minutes, just do it for 1 minute. It will completely change your vibe and help you
Yeah.
be much more focused, present, and alert.
Well,
It's
I
really
think of my favorite thing to do in college, back when I actually had time, was to go out and there was a big tree pretty much near all of my classes. And it was my favorite just go sit under it, lean up against it, and read. And you felt like, you could just sort of become the tree. You could just be grounded. You could just sort of enjoy what was around you. And it was such a nice experience. I wish I had time to do that again.
Yes, you can do it in between classes, in between teaching, in between creating, because you
Yes.
are so creative too. You're always creating stuff.
Well, it's something I've recently gotten back into, and I remember little Kelly back years and years and years ago. There was, at least in my elementary school in the 80s, there was this type of paper called manila paper. It was kind of like, crappy construction paper essentially that they handed out to kids to draw on. And I came home to my mom and I was like, there isn't enough manila paper for all my ideas. And a couple of years ago, I was just like, who is that kid? Where did all those ideas go? Because I could fill up like maybe a corner of a piece of paper with my ideas. And then once I started thinking about her, thinking about that little kid, the ideas started to come. And, like you start to be more connected with that sort of freer little kid you used to be who would be creative. And that's something that helped me. I mean, it might help some of you out there just to remember back when you got excited about the gigantic Crayola pack. And when you
Yes,
could just
I love that.
create. You could create with no judgment.
It's so awesome. And that's so important. And that was the next tip. We're like so
Yeah.
synced. Like that was exactly what I was gonna say. Like
Okay, perfect.
literally take a piece of paper. It could be any paper you want. Bring out some crayons, markers, whatever you want to
Yeah,
use. And then just give yourself the freedom to just like paint with your fingers, paint with your hands
yeah. Just play.
outside the lines, which is
Yeah.
something that we probably weren't allowed to do a
No,
lot when we were little,
no.
or late in life.
Yeah. And just that element of play, even if it's not art, even if it's going out and just playing, with your kids, or my husband and I do not have kids yet we go out and play. And
I love it.
it just releases that sort of like youthful creative energy you have. Makes you
Yes,
remember who
absolutely.
you used to be.
I know. It's so true. It's so true. And in the end, you might think it's like, oh, it's silly. I don't have time for it. I have so much to do. But
Yeah.
if you just make sure that maybe it's not every day, but maybe like once a week you do it, or whenever you can actually like remember to plan it in
Right.
advance and do it, it will actually make you be so much more present, so
Oh
much
my
more like
gosh.
connected with who you really are,
Yes.
and so much more productive and efficient in everything else that you're doing.
Yes. Opening up to that creative energy really does change all those things. I absolutely agree. Everything in life just becomes a little bit easier because you can solve things creatively, whether it's what's for dinner tonight, or it's how do I take the next step in business, or whatever it may be. Having that creative mindset just makes really like accomplishing anything easier. And you know, I have to sometimes take a creative approach with things that, where I get stuck, which happens all the time. I mean, I think, the farther you get in your career, the more you get stuck. And it does help to, think outside the proverbial box.
So true. So true.
So, one last question before we go.
Okay.
What is, if everyone were to come away and do one thing, like right after you click at the end of the video, what one thing do you want them to do to start sparking their creativity?
Well, the first thing, I would love for you to do this. I'm actually going to do it with you right now. Take a piece of paper.
Okay.
Okay, I have a lot of stuff written on the back. It doesn't matter. Take a pen or color markers, something that like really calls to you, and then write this: I am creative.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then give yourself 30 seconds to just doodle around it. You can go over the letters, you can do whatever you want. I don't have any colors in front of me right now.
Yeah, I've got like
Just make
nothing in front of me except my computer.
make signs, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Okay? 30 seconds. You get your
Yeah.
little doodle, and then place it somewhere where you're gonna see it every morning. Like I'm gonna put this in my
Okay.
bathroom mirror because that's where I go every morning to brush my teeth,
Yeah.
do my hair, my makeup, okay? And then every morning you're gonna see it. And every time you see it, you take a deep breath in and you repeat it inside as an affirmation. I am creative. I am creative. I am creative. And then ask yourself, what am I willing to create today?
Ooh.
And then let the answer just come down for you.
And remember, be creative about that because it might not be what you traditionally think of as a creative person doing.
Yeah.
I
Just
love
know
it.
that the answer is coming from it's coming from inside of you, but it's not just you. It's that co-creation that you're doing with the angels, with divinity, with nature, with all that is. So let that answer just kind of like, slowly come in and be like, ooh, yes, that sounds fun. I'm going to try it out.
Yeah. And keyword right there, try. Just try it.
Totally.
Beautiful. Thank you, my sparkly friend. That's
Mhm.
perfect. I'm so glad you could be with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been like an honor and a pleasure to be here with
Oh,
you and sharing all this awesome, sparkly, creative, playful stuff with everyone. Thank you so
oh, thank you.